What's going on, everybody? Josh Callaway alongside James D. Jackson, Sooners Illustrated 24/7 Sports at the stadium in Norman, where there was not a spring game today, but there was this thing called the Crimson Combine, which replaced the spring game. Let's just get into it, James. I mean, we talked about it on the podcast on Monday with Tom. We didn't really know what to expect from this thing. And, it kind of, I don't know. What did you make of it? Any takeaways at all from this? I mean, it was essentially a practice. It was kind of funny. We got about 10 minutes in and someone asked me, when are they going to start? And I said, no, this is it. Like this, they're just going to practice. They did some 7-on-7 stuff toward the end of it that was a little more useful. Yep. There's going to be a full highlight package of the full day, including that 7-on-7 on the YouTube channel if you missed it. But James, I'll start there. Any player, anything at all that you feel like you learned today? Because it was hard to know what to make of it, really, honestly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, what I said on the podcast was, I hope it doesn't look like a regular practice that we get to see as the media for the fans to come out here and see. Because I just didn't think they would understand or like what they were seeing, and I think that's what the takeaway may be for them for what we seen on the field. It was just exactly what we see in practice, and they did the same exact drills. They kind of did the warm-ups that we always see. The good thing, as you said, we got to see the 7-on-7 at the end, which serves some really, really good stuff for us. I think Carson Kent, who was, leading in the tight end room, I think he looked really good today. And a couple of balls that he got to see, he caught and make really good completions. Deion Burks, obviously, as a guy that's a deep threat receiver for Oklahoma, he did really good again today. Had a ball that kind of got the fans a little excited when he caught that one. And John Mateer was the big ticket today. I mean, he looked good. He looked comfortable in his throws. He talked about a lot of that, trying to be more in the pocket, being more calm, working on his feet work, and that's what he was working on for the spring session. And it showed pretty well today. So overall, those are some of my good takeaways. I know we're going to get to the bad ones as well. And I'll wait till you get yours off first.
Yeah, no, you nailed it. I agree with everything you just said. It was good to see Deion Burks looking healthy, running around, after last season, and then he's banged up the early part of the spring. Everyone's like, God, this guy is so talented, but can we bank on him? And, there's a long way to go until August and September, but he looked healthy and he looked good. He was out there making plays today. I agree on Carson Kent. John Mateer, everyone wants to see him throw it around. Had a couple of really nice throws, including that one Deion Burks. He got loose and ran a couple times. The Michael Hawkins looked good. I actually kind of thought Cole Gonzalez looked pretty good today. Now, that's a guy that if he's playing, something went wrong likely with obviously John Mateer and Michael Hawkins, but he had some really nice throws. The way this was formatted, it was set up for offense. I mean, defense was not going to have much of a chance to make too much of an impact. I don't know if there's anything you could really say defensively that we didn't already know. I mean, guys who have looked good again in pads, doing the little bit we saw, your David Stones, your PJ Adebores. But defensively, it was hard to really, 7-on-7. It's not really made for defense. It's made for offense. But offensively, they had some guys get out, make some plays. John Mateer threw it around and looked sharp. I mean, all you could really hope for, I guess. Defensively, though, it's hard to really take anything. Is that fair for you?
Yeah, because OU's defense is kind of premeditated on that front line being really disruptive, and that changes a lot for how other guys react and things like that. So when they're not on the field in a 7-on-7 format, you kind of just see coverages out there. Sometimes it breaks, as it did. Torrey Blaylock got to show his speed on one of those broken coverages down the sideline, a running back that's, a 4-star guy coming in. And Xavier Robinson got to show a little toe tap. Was that a catch? Did you see it?
I have no idea if it was a catch. They didn't signal anything. I think even the coaches were like, good, waiting for a signal, and it just never came. I think he was in, though.
Yeah, good footwork from him. I mean, if he did his best try at it. But, defensively, that's all you can really say about it. We want to see more of the entire defense on the field at the same time, just see what they do. So, I guess those are my takeaways there. I think, overall from what needs to be worked on is the kicking game doesn't look very impressive right now. That's a great point. And, just from what we saw, there were a lot of missed field goals, to say the least, for what it should happen at a program like Oklahoma. And that's something that should be a worrisome for, going forward. How are you going to address that? The portal opens here soon. What's going to happen there? Because it didn't look very impressive to me.
No, that's a great point. I'm glad you brought that up. The kicking game was terrible. At the end of the practice, the event today, they kicked field goals for a while, and across the board, nobody in particular, just a lot of misses. Now, it's breezy. You can probably hear it over the mic. But as Brent Venables said, this Oklahoma, man, that you can't really write it off as it was windy today. It's always windy. So that's a bit concerning. Don't want to make too much of it, but also it was you'd like to see a few more of those go in. But defensively, not a whole lot to take away. Jacoby Johnson did have a nice pass breakup that sticks out of my mind because the amount of good defensive plays you're going to see in a thing like this is pretty far and few between. So the fact he got in there and broke one up, that was nice. But Yeah, I mean, like you said, the kicking game a bit worrisome. Again, don't want to overact too much, but that was not great. And a couple of the guys that people just wanted to see run around a little bit, look good, like Burks and John Mateer, like we said. So just before we get out of here, this thing, this Crimson Combine, it's been a course of discourse, and this was not broadcast anywhere, so you had to be here to see it. They had the radio broadcast, which they piped in. That was kind of weird. There was only I don't know the official number, so if I'm wrong, my guess is around 10,000-ish, maybe a little more. Did you think this worked? Because fans, we talked about it on the podcast over the last couple of weeks, going back to when they announced it several weeks ago, hated that they got rid of the spring game. It was not really met with a lot of approval. And there was not a huge crowd. They nowhere even close to what you would get in a normal spring game. Did you think this worked? And if you're going to tweak it, how would you, if it can be tweaked, kind of moving forward, I guess, into next year?
I mean, you got to ask what was the intentional goal for this format, which I think was to not show other opponents, other teams, some of the things you're running and some of your players that are put on display.
Mission accomplished.
Mission accomplished. Yeah. Now, in terms of, building, fun and excitement for your program, I'm not entirely sure. I mean, some of the recruits had to sit over there and watch what I thought was just a regular practice, setting. And I don't know. I mean, a couple of fans were out, like you said, 10,000, but that's not the expectations you would think for, Oklahoma. Those type of, more fans come out for a situation like this. So it was a little weird overall. I didn't like the radio broadcast or TV broadcast throughout the entire the entire thing, because they had to talk about guys specifically, and you could ruffle some feathers if you do it the wrong way. Doing it live like that, where those guys have to hear that while they're practicing. I thought that was a little weird, but I don't know. That's a tough job for them. I mean, really so we'll see what happens. But, we got to see some good things, like we said, like some guys we talked about. So that's pretty much my takeaway from it. What do you think about it overall?
Yeah, not a fan. I mean, we knew going in. It's not like I came in. I tried to keep, open mind coming in, but you kind of knew this is probably not going to be great, and it wasn't, right? It wasn't. The spring game, while I'm not in love with the spring game, you feel like you get something out of it, and it does feel like a kind of a fun thing for fans. And I don't know if this was that. I said on the pod on Monday, I thought this should be free. I still think it should have been free. People having to pay to come to this is kind of, I don't know. I'm not a fan. I think it should just be open. You want to come, hang out, and kind of enjoy this thing. Now, granted, we didn't get to really see the second half of the event, which is where the players sign autographs and stuff.
You can pay for that. I mean, that seems like pretty
we went inside, because we had to do post game and stuff, so we didn't see that part of it. But as far as the actual product on the field, it was just kind of a practice, and there were some nice things late, the 7-on-7, but I would prefer the spring game to just return until the post-spring transfer portal window goes away or they change it somehow. It's hard to see it, but yeah, I don't know. This was kind of a whatever thing to me. And again, the expectations were not high coming in, and so it's about what I expected, really, honestly. Honestly. Any final thoughts on this thing?
It's bad. My expectations are that, I have a bad feeling about it, just because we still got to see football. I mean, that's still always a good sign to see football, but you missed the spring game because you know what it could be. And so that's the situation for us, I think. For a while, we're, I guess, Debbie Downers of the situation right now.
It's just too bad, because it feels like in the spring game every year you get one or two guys who really play well, and they're kind of like stars for a day of and sometimes it pans out, sometimes it doesn't. But you're not going to really get that from this, right? There's not going to be anybody the Bixby walk-on Jacob Snyder, who's a preferred walk-on. It's his second year at the program, I believe. He had a couple of really big plays, but there's no stats, there's no score. It's it's just going to get lost in the shuffle. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I'd like to see the spring game come back. I'm not super optimistic it will, again, until there's changes to the structure of the sport. But I don't know. If you were here today, let us know what you thought. Reach out.
And that's a good point when you bring up a guy like, him coming out here and doing that. Usually you get to do that in front of this, mega crowd.
A pretty big crowd.
You get to feel what would it feel like to play in that atmosphere and start. And it kind of, I guess, gives you a little bit more motivation to keep going and doing what you're doing, because obviously it's working for you. So, what can you do?
It is what it is. It is what it is. It was great weather today, so you got that going for you. A little breezy you can hear, but very nice weather. It's going to be really hot tomorrow, and it was really cold last weekend, so they actually got quite lucky with the weather. Ironically, the one time they didn't play an actual game like they normally do where there's a lot of people here. It is what it is. That's it We have lots of coverage on the YouTube channel as well as the website, Oakland247sports.com. The best part of today, really from our perspective, and really probably for fans too, is the fact that we got to hear from Ben Arbuckle, Nate Dreiling, and Wes Goodwin for the first time. Their post-game press conferences are all on the YouTube channel. More coverage to come. Also heard from Brent Venables. That's there as well. Slew of players, including John Mateer. So a chance to kind of, less so even than the event, but kind of just put a bow on the spring today. You got that going for us. So that's all there and more to come coming out of that. We're back on the podcast on Monday with Tom to get any kind of finishing touches on spring camp as they shift toward the summer. And before you know it, it'll be fall camp, and we'll be getting ready to start a brand new season, obviously year 2 in the SEC. That's it for now. For James D. Jackson, I'm Josh Callaway signing off from the stadium in Norman. Next time we're here, August 30th, the season opener, Oklahoma, Illinois State, a little over 4 months from today.